Edwin Rodriguez stops Denis Grachev in the first round. That was quite an impressive performance. All right, it was quite an impressive performance. The first time I saw Rodriguez fight was when he faced Don George, and I was quite impressed with him that night. But here against Grachev, it was even more impressive again. Now, Grachev does have a little bit of form. He stopped the then undefeated Silak. I can't remember his first name. I think it's Ishmael, the Ukrainian guy. Call him the Black Russian. Yeah, he stopped Silak, put an end to his unbeaten run. But he was losing that fight, let's be fair. And then he gave Lucian Bute a run for his money in Bute's last fight. So that's basically Grachev's form coming into the fight. And Rodriguez was basically able to completely overwhelm him and stop him in the first round. Now, even though the Silak victory was decent, Silak was an unknown quantity. And Lucian Bute was, I mean, visibly traumatized by the beating that Carl Froch put on him, right? That was not the same Lucian Bute that went undefeated for all those fights. The one we saw against Denis Grachev. That was not the Bute of old. That was a seriously, I mean, some would say shot Lucian Bute. He was certainly mentally not in a good place. Let's put it that way. But if anything, this also shows how far Bute has deteriorated since the Froch defeat, right? It shows what impact that Carl Froch defeat really had on him. Some people thought I was overplaying it when I did my Lucian Bute Denis Grachev post-fight video. They thought I was overstating the case that Bute was damaged goods. But I think this performance by Rodriguez serves to further prove my point as being correct, that Lucian Bute really was damaged goods, because Rodriguez didn't have no problem just walking straight up to Denis Grachev, who I believe is from a kickboxing background. He don't come from a boxing background. He didn't have no trouble rushing Grachev and overwhelming him straight away. Now, in boxing, when you get in the ring to spar someone or fight someone, generally speaking, your opponent takes it for granted that you do have some type of boxing skill. All right, they often take it for granted. That's why boxers normally in the first round, most boxers have a feeling out process where they want to see what their opponent does. They want to see exactly how good their opponent is, what his speed is like, what his jab is like, what his movement is like, what his defense is like, before they go rushing in, right? Before they start letting it all hang out and throwing the big punches that they really want to throw. They tend to have a feeling out round, all right? So they give the guy the benefit of the doubt and assume that he can actually defend himself against a rush. All right. But Denis Grachev is a guy who's coming from a very limited boxing background. He's coming from a kickboxing background. And obviously in kickboxing, if someone rushes towards you, you can kick them in the chest. You can kick them in the legs and keep them off you. All right. Whereas, you know, in boxing, you have to do all that with your hands and upper body movement and all that kind of stuff to defend someone rushing at you, especially if you're not, you know, being rushed the way that Rodriguez rushed Grachev. Being rushed like that is especially difficult to deal with when you haven't trained or prepared to deal with it. All right. Now, Edwin Rodriguez normally don't fight like that. He don't normally rush his opponents in the first round and just overwhelm them. So Grachev was expecting that Rodriguez would give him a little bit more respect early on. Right, that's what he was expecting. He seemed shell-shocked by the early bombardment. He wasn't expecting that at all. And he didn't know how to deal with it. You know, some fighters, because of their skill level, because of their experience or what have you, even if they're not expecting to get rushed, they can still deal with it. All right. But obviously Grachev is not one of those guys. Yeah, he was used to opponents giving him a certain amount of respect. All right. He was used to them giving him that free feet and giving him the benefit of the doubt, thinking that he would be able to defend himself or counterpunch effectively if an opponent just simply rushed at him. All right. He's been relying on that probably for most of his career. But in this fight, he got found out. Right. He got found out. He got you know, caught early on in the fight, and he just did not know how to deal with all the punches raining down on him. He had no idea. And, you know, Rodriguez did what a fighter is supposed to do. He applied the pressure. He finished the fight as early as he possibly could. So it was a good win for Edwin Rodriguez, but those kind of tactics are not going to work against everyone, all right? They may work against a relatively inexperienced fighter like Denis Grachev, but he ain't going to work against the elite level fighters, trust me. If you try to rush a guy like that at the elite level, they're going to counterpunch you and they're going to hurt you, all right? So, you know, like I say, a nice win, impressive win for his record and resume and all that kind of stuff, but I wouldn't read too much into it. But with that being said, I do think that Edwin Rodriguez is a nice addition to the super middleweight division. I know this fight was being fought at a catchweight, I believe 171, 172 pounds light heavyweight. But from what I understand, Rodriguez is still campaigning at 168 super middleweight. So I think he is another interesting addition. The super middleweight division really is a very strong division. And it's always been a strong division historically for the most part. And it's really heating up again lately. You know, I think Edwin Rodriguez is a very, very nice addition to the super middleweight division. It'll be nice to see him in there, you know, with some of those other names in there. You know, your Carl Froch's, even guys coming up, George Groves, James DeGale, as well as obviously Andre Ward, you know, Stevenson, if he can drop back down. It's an interesting division, man. It's an interesting division. And Edwin Rodriguez is right in there in the mix, hoping to break through, you know, to the elite level. So, yeah, if you ain't seen the fight, it's on YouTube. I suggest you go watch it. Anyone who has seen the fight, leave your comments in the comment section below. Let me know how you felt about it. How far do you think Rodriguez can go? How impressed were you by this victory? Just leave your comments in the comment section below. This is Hatman. I'm out.